Okay, so last time I talked about how Canada wanted to reduce the oil sands and their carbon emissions on an environmental scale. Today I just wanted to point out what this would look like on a financial and economic scale. So first off, we're on, I guess, world's top 10 exports, I guess it's a site. But the reason I'm here is just to show you what Canada's top 10 exports are. So we have mineral fuels, including oil, which resolves around 98.4 billion. It was back in 2019 here. We have vehicles coming in at 61.4, machinery, including computers, gems, and precious metals, which is probably tied into the mining that comes from oil. You just happen to run across those areas. Electrical machinery equipment, plastics, plastic articles, wood, aircraft, spacecraft, ore, slag, ash, and pharmaceuticals. And basically what you can see is majority of Canada's exports rely on oil and gas, petroleum, because I know plastics is part of that, equipment pieces, like that includes a lot of mining to get the metals and everything. So yeah, led by gold, the gems and precious metals category represents the fastest grower among the top 10 categories thanks to its 16.2% increase since 2018. Second place for improving export sales was ore, slag, and ash, gained 12.7, led by iron ores and concentrates. Canada's shipment of pharmaceuticals posted the third fastest gain in value via its 7.4 improvement. So yeah, the areas that Canada is improving on, but how fast is it? That's something that I don't think I looked into yet. Here's the advantages that Canada has in a nutshell. The following types of Canadian product shipments represent positive net exports or a trade balance surplus. Here you have mineral fuels, including oils. I don't know whether that's because we sell it at a very cheap price just to basically get it out. Gems and precious metals, as you saw before in the previous tab, they were doing very well. Wood is doing pretty well. Ore, slag, ash. Cereals is very surprising. I didn't know we were a positive on the cereal department. Wood pulp, which is probably a crossover between the two there. Oil seeds. I wonder if that. I'm pretty sure that's plant-based. Aluminum, metals, fertilizers, stuff that comes after this, and meat. So it's pretty interesting advantages that Canada has. And then opportunity size that Canada is doing pretty poorly on. Overall, Canada incurred a 6.6 billion trade deficit for 2019, down by 27.8% from the 9.1 billion in red ink 1 year earlier. Don't know what red ink is. Below are exports from Canada that are negative net exports or product trade balance deficits. These negative net exports reveal product categories where foreign spending on home country Canada's goods trail Canadian importers spending on foreign products. So basically, we spent more on these areas rather than creating it ourselves and then shipping it out. So things like machinery, including computer parts, okay, electrical machinery, equipment, vehicles, I kind of figured that one. Pharmaceuticals, which kind of runs contradictory to the top 10 there. Maybe it's kind of we take in some of the raw products and we make them into full products and ship it back out. Who knows? Optical, technical, medical apparatuses, articles of iron or steel, knit or crochet clothing accessories, fruits and nuts, clothing accessories, not included in the above, beverages, spirits, vinegar. It's weird that vinegar is included in that. Anyway, so the reason I wanted to point this out is just kind of seeing on a natural side, is this what our government is pushing for? Like, I highly doubt this is what the Liberals, NDP, and all of them are trying to push for. Is like, we want Canada to have more fruits and nuts in here. But it's just like, the advantages are all based around, well, mostly based around, for lack of a better term, harming the environment when you talk about like the wood pulp. I get debates on the oil seeds and that. But things like mining and all of that, I don't think anyone's too upset about the slaughter of animals, but give or take that one. Sometimes between there. But the overall thing I want to point out here is, why do they want to get rid of all of this? Like, they're pushing so hard for Canada to lower their carbon emissions. And in my previous video, I showed that Canada is very, very small. And if you want to know an updated one, here we are. Each country's share of CO2 emissions, published July 16th of 2008, but updated August 12th of 2020. So I'm assuming this is the chart itself has been updated, but as you can see here, rest of the world is 21%, but I don't know what that is. China takes up an entire quarter. So my question is, why are we not talking about them? It's like, why is that another thing? So US is 15%, India is 7%, Russian Federation is 5%. Then you have different color spectrums here. So Asia, being as large as it is, takes up about, I think about 35%, if I can ballpark this. Europe holds about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7%. And Canada is this little smidge right here, right in front of Mexico. And again, the baseline I want to point out here is, how much more can Canada cut? Because, no offense, regardless of what Canada cuts, the US is still pushing out a pretty good amount. India is pushing out a lot more than us, and I don't know the size differences, but like, I know Russia is definitely bigger than Canada, but isn't Canada bigger than India? So how come no one's talking about how India is pushing out more than us? Japan being smaller than us, I think, at least in terms of size. I think population-wise, Japan is higher up. But again, they keep talking about wanting to cut the emissions, cut the oil sands out. But when you look at these numbers here, it doesn't make any sense. State of the trade here, I just want to point out where everybody is in terms of the employments. This is back in 2018, these numbers were taken from. Agriculture, we had 277,000. So you can see the numbers are all here. Construction, manufacturing, durables. You can kind of argue about what happened there. Obviously, we've been seeing a lot of cuts, so we're seeing some decreases. The mining quarter is smaller. Let's see, household trades, real estate, that's everything here. So yeah. You can see where everybody is on the numbers based in terms of the job industries. Wage growth is over here as well. The thing I want to point out here is just the two photos I got. This is from the same website here. I just took snippets. We can see imports versus exports here. And the one thing I wanted to point out here is a lot of people are saying, look how much energy and ores and stuff like that Canada is exporting compared to like the imports is obviously smaller in that regard. So a couple of people are thinking it shouldn't be too bad of an idea to cut the energy industry. Like, we'll still be exporting it. The problem is both guys are just seeing what happens when we export the stuff. We're not seeing what Canada itself uses. And this is what I wanted to get, where imagine that in the oil and gas industry, Canada makes 200 units, just produces 200 units. Canada itself needs 100 units to sustain itself, which means the other 100 units gets exported. As most things do. When you have excess stuff, you usually sell it. The problem is, with what the Liberals, the NDP, and all the environmentalists are pushing for is they want to cut that industry in half. So on the front page, people usually think, well, that just means we drop this down from 100 to 50. No, that's not it. What actually happens is, with my earlier example, Canada originally was producing 200 units. You cut that in half. Now it's just down to 100 units, which means the entire 100 units is used solely by Canada. So nothing gets exported. And if there's any deficits, that just means all of it comes to importing this. That's the one thing I want to get at here. Is that that's a part of the argument that we're not hearing. We just keep hearing, oh, we're trying to save the environment. This will be good for Canada. We're trying to move forward. But it's just like, why are you cutting out all this stuff? Why Canada has already produced all these advantages. We're pretty good at what we do. It's like, why are you trying to get rid of all this stuff? Why are you trying to cut it in half and potentially get rid of all exports so that we're only an import country? That's kind of like how the States was back in like 2016, I think, and before that. They were just importing a whole lot of stuff, not actually producing. And then brings up to the last point here, which is crude oil. And just the fact of Canada is the 4th largest producer and 3rd largest exporter of oil in the world. And people are pushing to stop this? And again, I can only go back to the entire grid where it's like, maybe in the grand scheme of things, if we continue as we are, Canada might ping 3%. That's about it. That's all you're seeing. It's like, if we continue as we are, Canada will just go to 3% maybe. But there's still the whole China. No one's arguing about China. No one's arguing about the India. Russia, you guys do what you do. Let's see, 97% of Canada's proven oil reserves are located in the oil sands. And this is what I mean. It's like, yes, the oil sands are dirty. They produce a lot of emissions. But it's not like we aren't incentivized to capture all those emissions to reduce what we put out. Mainly because the oil industry, they want to avoid as many taxes as possible. And that might be why the federal government is pushing so hard to get rid of the oil sands, is because they know that technology is improving a lot and they can't collect on as heavy of the taxes. That's just one conspiracy theory I have here. Let's see. GHG emissions per barrel of oil produced in the oil sands have fallen 36% since 2000. So yeah, we can see right here, it's like the amount of emissions since we started doing the oil sands, they've fallen by 36%. Now, I don't know what the chart looked like back in 2000. I haven't pulled that one up. But it's just this fact right here. It's like, we have improved. Why are people denying this? And it just comes to my head that a lot of the environmentalists, a lot of the NDPs and guys who keep spouting out this whole, the world's in trouble and just, again, ignoring China and all the bigger polluters, is just like, Canada must do better. And it's like, do you people know what the trade-offs are? The one thing that a lot of people do not consider when we talk about saving the environment in today's society or today with all the technology and everything, in order to save the environment right now, there is a lifestyle trade-off that is never looked at. And that gets back to, let's just take the monetary value from earlier. It's like, if we're not exporting, that means no money is coming into Canada and a lot more money is going out. That means within Canada, we can't import as much stuff. We're going to have to cut back on a lot of things. So luxury good items will probably see a decrease. Perhaps we'll have to cut back on some foreign goods, some common foreign goods that we usually like to have. Maybe some types of fruits and nuts kind of things. We won't be able to buy those at the store anymore. In terms of lifestyle. And this is also what Trudeau's weird heating electrical tax increase is doing, where it's like, your lifestyle would mean you have to reduce the amount of heating in your house. So during the colder times, you probably have to reduce the inside temperature. You would have to use your heater less. So like it's going to be colder. You risk your pipes freezing and bursting. So there's a bunch of different lifestyle things that are not being talked about. You know, if we want to save the environment, it's a matter of changing the lifestyle here. And that's because that's the easiest. If they don't want us to protect the environment by technological advancements in order to keep our current lifestyles that we're used to keep moving forward, and instead they're saying we're going to cut this, we're taking steps backwards, because that's the only way you can effectively balance out with what's happening with the oil fields, whether or not it be because of the amount of energy it produces or the financial gains we get from it. It's just lifestyle cuts that will have to be done. Let's see. Yeah, the number I just want to point out here is from conventional means, I think the oil fields produce maybe about 32,000 barrels a day. And with the oil sands here, we can produce up to like 2.9 million barrels per day. So that's like almost 10 times more comes from just the oil sands here. And again, this just goes to the whole, why are you doing this here? Because when it comes to things like manufacturing, is that oil manufacturing, you're going to be losing a lot of people here. And where do they go? It's like all these manufacturing jobs or construction jobs that they pump out a lot of these emissions, but it's like, where do these people go once you cut the oil fields, reduce, and you're cutting all these jobs in the oil fields, which means you're also reducing the amount of jobs needed for oil products. It's like, where do all these people go if you cut them in half? It's like, agriculture, that's probably at max capacity. Fishing, that's probably at max capacity. Mining, probably don't need as much utilities. You only can have so many people there, so that's probably also at max capacity. It's like, you're pretty much, the only option is to throw them into like the wholesales and retail areas, but then it's like, again, max capacity, people are butting heads against each other. So I really don't know why our government is pushing for this, but these are the things I just wanted to point out here. It's just makes no sense.